Today we are talking about first meetings with your wedding couples.
It took me 17 days to shake you, rearrange my mind, erase you. I waited, all my pride on the table. I was willing and able.
Welcome to the car. I'm in the car today because Lindsay is sleeping at home. We've kind of partially moved some of our I don't know, it's a weekend home, but our weekends, since we're wedding photographers, usually are kind of flipped. So it'll be like a Monday to Wednesday home potentially up here. Collingwood, Ontario, Canada, if you're familiar with the space. It's very, very nice up here. And unofficial investment advice opportunity, I guess, if you do live in the area. There has been quite a significant rush of people since everyone works from home now, or a significant number of people work from home now. There's a lot of people coming up this way, and I guess since March, the housing market has seen a 13% increase within just the past couple of months. So if you're interested in investment opportunity, maybe check out Collingwood. It might be worth your time. I feel like it's important, if you are doing an investment of any sort, to first do something that you want to do, that actually you find fun in the thing. And if it does happen to appreciate, awesome. If it doesn't, and you're only financially involved on the thing, it's just, I don't know, lifestyle wise, it's just not as much fun. That if you're not making the money, at least you get to have the fun if this all doesn't kind of work out as we plan. But for now, we're going to spend some time up here. In the winter, there's a lot of ski hills up here, so maybe you'll see some snowboard footage. I don't know. You might be noticing that I'm speaking to my phone, and that is because the audio you're hearing is from my phone, because my XT4 preamp has completely failed. It is at absolute zero now. It does not even make any noise whatsoever, which means it is in fact a warranty issue, and it gets fixed for hopefully free. I hope that I didn't somehow water damage it. It hasn't really been near water, but we'll find out together, I guess. Yesterday, Lindsay and I shot our first wedding in quite some time. Lindsay and I both have separate businesses. We did this very intentionally, that I had my own business when Lindsay and I met. I kind of trained her partially with my business, and then she went out and started her own. We felt that it would make a lot more sense for us to both run our own businesses, I guess, to appeal to different couples and clients, rather than running one together. If we're running one together, we can kind of make that one business money, but if we're running two of the same businesses, essentially, we can kind of run ideas off of each other, and then also run double the amount that we would be making under, I guess, like one umbrella. And I would say that was, in retrospect, the correct decision. I think it's working out very well. I think that also, as a husband and wife team, if you both have the time and the desire and the motivation to run your own business, it is a lot easier, I think, to run individual businesses, because you'll just find a lot less, stress, between one another when doing that, when you can just make decisions for your own business, and I can make decisions for my own business, and I don't know, worked out pretty well. Let's talk about first meetings. So right now there are 2 first meetings up on the member site. So if you're interested in hearing an actual live meeting with my couples, there is one that is a bit of kind of it's a video, and it has a bit of kind of an introduction to it that has some good information, as well as a bit of an exit interview, and then the main call as well. And there's also an MP3 of a full meeting. I would say that 90% of my meetings now, now I guess it's like 100%. Even back in like the end of last year, probably 80-90% of my meetings were all either phone calls, or maybe 5% of those were Skype meetings or FaceTime calls. And I don't know if that's just the way that the couples that I connect with, but it seems like nobody really cares to Skype or FaceTime. This might be maybe as like a bigger concept. I put a lot of video content out, and I put a lot of video content out, not necessarily even just for photographers, but we do a local food show. I do a lot of kind of community-based content. I also do venue reviews and all kinds of different pieces of content that they might come in contact with. So I feel like that kind of bridges the gap of them knowing that I exist, or like having any sort of hesitant that I might be not a real person. So I do recommend, if you are watching this and you're kind of in the upstart of your wedding photography career, that the more content you can create and the more comfortable you can get in front of a camera. I would say now 80% comfortable in front of a camera. When I started, I was negative comfortable in front of the camera, but I knew it was a thing that I kind of had to do in order to market my own business. And that started with a simple promotional video, and then that slowly became into more content. That became a food show that we do locally. feel like I'm the least qualified person to be doing a food show.
We should put you up to some kind of challenge. We should make you start developing a menu, and you should be the final episode of this season's shoot.
I think downtown Kitchener has had a bad rap for a long time.
The chefs in Kitchener-Waterloo have a little bit of like a inferiority complex with a big city.
That's the chef in you, that's the human in you.
This was so good.
It's beautiful.
This was an example of a perfect food.
I'm actually going to write a post about that this week as well in the members group, that we started this food show, and it was originally just for fun. It was like kind of that offshoot. It's like, yeah, we have the technology and the cameras to go and do it. We should talk about like tacos and late night fast food and whatnot in our city. And it turns out that a lot of the moms like absolutely love this show, and they tell all their daughters and sons to book me as a wedding photographer if they're getting married. So there's a post coming out with some metrics about that, and actually how much profit it's generated for my wedding photography business. So far, so good. It's been about 5 minutes and security is not yet here. So we've set up, and now everyone's gonna bring their chairs out, and we're going to sit down for a lovely dinner in the King Street Construction. Also, my co-host on the show is Nick, who runs a lot of restaurants. So I'm assuming that the upside of his business is also as far as being a community leader and getting people in the doors to sit at his tables, I feel like is also pretty significant. So the time investment and the financial investment in that, we also got sponsorships to cover at least kind of the base costs as well. So I do recommend doing 4 good community projects and things that you find your community would be interested in. If you can put your face in front of a camera and find whatever way you can possibly do that, I do feel like it's a very good thing. So that will bridge the unknown aspect of things. I find that in first meetings, a lot of couples just want to ask me questions. Like, people show up to a meeting, and hopefully by that point, so let's say it is a physical meeting, we're meeting up in a coffee shop. This is not the current time, this is future times, maybe next January. We're meeting up in a coffee shop, and a couple has researched me enough to know that, one, that they wanted to initially inquire with me, which I feel like is kind of the big stepping point. And I feel like all the things I'm going to talk about in the actual first meeting also go or can be ported in some way to your website as well, and your online social presence, really kind of across the board. So they've decided that they want to inquire with you. That's amazing. They get in touch with you. You respond back that you're available for their date. Here's your official pricing if it's not on your website. I'm happy to make you a custom package if you so desire. My email templates are also on the members website if you want to just download them and use them. I respond back. Hopefully at that point, they would like to either get together or schedule a call. Usually for me, it is scheduling a call. We set up a meeting, a time to connect. And one of my things is always that I have like weird times that usually this began as the fact that I was actually busy, that I was doing a lot of things, and I'd be like, hey, I can do a call at, I'm going to say that my first shoot is going to be done at 6:30. So let's say, can I do 6:50? And then my next shoot is at like 7:15 or something. And I would schedule calls in the middle, and I realized that really does punch up your kind of your scarcity and time, that you're in demand. People know that you're a photographer that's in demand. And I feel like also by kind of like almost sandwiching a meeting like that as well, that you can talk to the fact that you just did a shoot, that you're now talking to them and you're off to do another shoot. And I feel like that again goes back to the credibility of you kind of as a photographer. So I think by scheduling yourself like that, I think there's positives, and also weird times are kind of memorable, and it's like a bit strange if somebody's like, hey, like, can we do a phone call at 6:50 p.m? People are like, yeah, okay. And they'll remember that. It's not a 7 p.m. It's not an arbitrary time. It's like, it shows that you're an in-demand person. In normal circumstances, I'm usually a lot more busy. In this time, I can probably do any time. However, I think it is important to pin it down to 2 specific times. Be like, hey, I can meet on Tuesday at 6:50, or I can meet on Thursday at 5:30, and give them 2 specific times. And usually people can make one of them work. If you just like hit the tennis ball back and you're like, hey, I'm available anytime, let me know when you'd like to get together, at that point, I feel like your kind of business credibility, even though behind the scenes, like you might be rescheduling things or you might be making it work for them because you want to just please them as the client, I feel like it kind of works negatively against you, unfortunately. So I think that's maybe one tip to kind of get started here. And when you sit down, I think that this is both the tip for the actual wedding meeting, as well as what your entire website and your entire social presence should be, and any video content that you hopefully create will also be. But you should just try to be as helpful as you can possibly ever be. Ramit, say he came up with this thing or stole this thing. I don't know if he came up with it or he borrowed it from somebody. I'm going to borrow it today. It's called the briefcase method, and you can look it up online. I'm going to modify that process to be specifically for wedding photographers. So what Ramit's process is, essentially kind of how it goes, is that you just way over prepare for the meeting and you go above and beyond what anyone else could ever expect to do. So you sit down and you start talking, and I don't have a sales pitch prepared. I feel like if you sit down, you're probably already, I would say 80% of the way to booking. If they've contacted you and they've agreed to meet with you in real life, you're 80% plus of the way to already making that booking. If you sit down and you're like, hey, so like based on like your venue and the time of year, here are some sample images that I have from the local areas. Here are some suggestions for kind of the location to go do the photos if there's not an on-site location. Here's kind of a temporary timeline that I kind of created that's kind of that gives me what I need. And you can just kind of go completely over and above with that. And once you do it a couple of times, and especially if you've done it for every venue, it becomes very easy to just copy and paste that and modify it based on specifics of whatever that wedding is. So by doing that, you're showing people that, like, one, that you really do want to work with them. And then I think what's more important than that is showing how much you can help them. And I feel like everything that goes into your social presence should also be about that. And if you can become the most helpful photographer in your city, if you can take on the role essentially of, I've talked about this in the past, that if you can, like, if you don't have a wedding magazine in your local city, create all that content. And the easy thing, or the easiest part of it, I guess, is that because you're competing on a local level, you can go to Martha Stewart, you can go to like Green Wedding Shoes and Style Me Pretty, and you can pull at least like ideas for headlines and ideas for topics and things to put on your blog based on that, and then just modify them to be completely local to you, that you don't have to compete. Like, even if you are in the States where there is, I would say Canada, if you live in Toronto, you kind of work in Toronto, you might get some destination wedding inquiries. But I feel like if you live in California, there's a lot of opportunities that you're going to be flown kind of all around the States in order to do weddings. I would say it's more important, even if that is a possibility for you, if you do live in California and that might be a thing that might happen in your life, I would focus all of my time and attention in the beginning specifically to the local environment and creating essentially that wedding magazine for your local cities or local cities within kind of a small area. If that wedding magazine already exists, see what they're not doing. If they don't have a video show, or if they don't have a podcast, or they don't have a Facebook group, like, go out and just build that and get it done and become kind of that local center point of your community, because that will get people to the 95% booking percentage before they even sit down with you. And when they sit down for you at that first meeting or the phone call or whatever it might be, they are just looking if there's any like immediate red flags, even if there's like a subtle red flag or something that people are like, oh, like, how long you've only been in this for 2 years? You've only been in this for 6 months? You're 14 years old? Even if there's like a mild red flag like that and you've done all this other work, I feel like they're going to easily get over that, and they're going to be a lot closer to booking you. In the first meeting, as you can hear in the audio in the members course if you want, I don't really ever do any hard sales in those meetings. I feel like to just be as helpful as you can, to walk them through the day, to get them to visualize it, to potentially troubleshoot any problems. And also, I'm not holding back any information, like based on like, oh, like even if they do book with someone else, they're probably still going to use this idea, or they're going to use this photo location or whatever it might be. You kind of have to separate from that a little bit in order to just kind of give your best performance. I feel like it's taught in sales a lot, and maybe it's not what I would consider to be kind of common knowledge, but the more you seem to give away, the more helpful you are, the more likely people are going to actually be to book you. That if you've given them so much already, they're going to be so just either actually grateful or subconsciously grateful for your assistants, that there is a much higher chance that they're going to actually book you. If you're holding back on things and you're like, we can talk about engagement photos if you decide that you want to go through and book me. If you say stuff like that, it's kind of setting up a little bit of this wall that people are going to feel, and it's just not going to feel as organic of a process as possible. So the more helpful you can be across all of your social channels, anything you're putting up on your blog, I think that it's important to do the SEO style blogs, that if you shoot a wedding at a specific venue, obviously you want those images online, but if you can, rather than just blogging that, if you can turn that into a 10 things you need to know about booking a wedding at this venue, and somebody from that venue or that's researching that venue comes across that, they're going to see you as somebody that's actually going to become their guide for the wedding day, which I think I have a video on this maybe from last week at some point, but people really do, if it's most likely that couple, or at least both people in the partnership, it's likely the first time they've gone through a wedding that they're at a wedding. And if you're able to be that guide for them, to just know the process and to not have any unknowns and to not leave too much on them, and to make it as easy as possible for them to get married, for them to hire you, and for you to generate great images that they're going to be happy with, if you can alleviate any of that anxiety and they can just know that you are the correct person for them, I feel like that is the best place to be in. And I think by creating lots of helpful content and just being genuinely helpful with nothing really held back, I think that is the way to start booking a lot more weddings and have much higher yields on your first meetings. I would also say, maybe as a bit of a caveat to this as well, that if I don't know what the official metrics are. I feel like I've heard a lot of different things. If you're booking 60 plus, I would say 60 to 80% of your first meetings, you're probably in the right price point. If you're booking 100% of your meetings, that might sound great. You're like, so much acceptance, everything's awesome, everybody loves me, I'm getting booked so much, but you're probably undervaluing yourself and you're probably not charging as much as you could. I feel like that, like maybe 70 to 80% is kind of where you want to be. If you have 8 meetings, or you have 10 meetings, you book 8 of those, you're probably going to be kind of in that right price point. If you're having 10 meetings and you're booking 3 of those meetings, you're probably a little too high priced. There are different ways you can run your business, but I would say in general, if you're booking 80%, 70%, you're probably kind of in that right price point. So something to think about. And as you can hear in the wedding MP3s, or the first meeting MP3s, that I don't close off anything with like a hard sale or any time sensitive offer. Like, if you book right now, I'll give you 10% off. It just feels weird. I'm probably too quiet, shy, introverted to come out with anything like that. But by just saying, like, simply like, hey, if you decide that you want to move forward, I'm not going to put you on the spot right now, but just send me an email with the package that you think that you're going to go with, and or any modifications to that package, and I'm happy to set you up with a contract, and we can do payment online and everything is secured that way, rather than trying to do anything kind of on site. I guess this also goes down to your ideal couples, that if you are meeting, so for instance, my ideal couple is quite similar to myself, that a lot of my wedding meetings, I'm sitting there like talking with people that I very much get along with. And I would know if I was in the seat of the groom getting married and somebody tried to start like hard selling at me, that I would feel like that wall would come up and I'd be like, this is not the person for us. So again, maybe feel that out, and depending on your ideal client, for my ideal client, like that this is kind of the right strategy for it. For your ideal client, it might be a little bit different. So make sure you're kind of pulling the right bits and pieces from everything you're learning to put into your business. And I don't know, I would say that's kind of the thing. As far as artistically, I've pulled bits and pieces from all kinds of different photographers to piece together to create a style that feels right for me. I feel like my business is the same, that I have listened to, I don't even know, I'll do a count someday, but I'm going to say maybe 500, 1,000 audiobooks probably in the past 5-6 years. And I've pulled bits and pieces from all of those. I'm not modeling myself specifically after any one of them, but I'm pulling all the bits that I think kind of suit me the best. And again, life happiness is kind of my number one, so I want everything to be kind of pointing to that. So I don't want to do anything, even if I can make an extra $100,000 next year, like on these hard sells or after sessions or high pressure, like in-person sales, that doesn't feel nice to me. So I would rather do the things that make me feel the most joy, I guess, in wedding photography, and avoid everything else, and just kind of, it doesn't, I don't know, it's kind of like social media platforms. You can't do absolutely all of them and be successful at them, so you might as well pick the couple that you think that you enjoy the most and kind of roll forward with those, and try to not stress out too much about the ones you're missing out on. that is all I have to say for today. If you're interested in getting those MP3s and that video, head over to the link in the description, and it's just my full wedding meeting, start to finish, 2 of them, and you can hear exactly what I say, 2 different places, 2 different couples, and that's all I have to say today. Goodbye from the car. Hopefully Lindsay's done her nap. I think we're gonna go to the pool here in a few minutes, but we'll find out. I also feel like I have this weird lean on. Like, this is not a comfortable way to... I think it was from the phone that I wanted to put the phone on the center console here. So now I feel like I should be driving Cadillac Eldorado, leaning way over in the center here. It does feel comfortable. I thought it would feel less comfortable, but it feels pretty comfortable.